with me last week, our lesson was on digging deeper and, primarily just focusing on why it's so important in this new year for us to be digging in the Word every single day. Um, so this week, I was thinking, when we're digging, what are we digging for? And I thought about all of the things that are our mind, and especially living here in Eastern Kentucky, we're familiar with mining and that whole industry of mining for coal and um, so I thought about other precious gems that are mined, and I looked up what is the most valuable gem, and it's the blue diamond. And so I thought we need to be digging for diamonds every day. Um, so let's keep that in mind as we're going through this little lesson, which is not very long. But I thought about the process of digging for gems. And this one source said, unlike gold mining, for example, no chemicals are used in the mining of gemstones. Gemstones do not have to be washed out by acids or, I'm not sure what that word is, alkalis, I don't know,
Alkalized.
alkalis. I'm wanting to say alkaline. I don't know why I can't say that, but are broken out of the rock mechanically or are found free as individual pieces in a soap. To identify valuable stones, geological and gemological knowledge, as well as a good eye, is necessary. And so I started thinking about, you have to dig it out. It's hard work. There's not an easy way of just, you know, um, gathering knowledge. And I think sometimes that's how I want to gain it. Read a devotion book that someone else has written, and it's their opinion or what they have learned, rather than digging it out myself. And the time that it takes to do that is a sacrifice sometimes. And the more we do it, we're going to get this eye to where we can spot and we can understand and we can detect. And just like digging these gems, a good eye is necessary, because if they don't know what they're looking for, they could easily throw away something that's very valuable. So I want to develop that good eye over time. So as I'm reading my Bible daily, what do I look for? And these are not the only things that you can be looking for, but these are some things that I'm going to be looking for. And I hope that this list will grow over time, and your list may be different from mine, but hopefully this is something that we'll all have in common, is that we're looking for those God spots. And in the Bible Recall, she wants us to be doing that. So what are God's characteristics? And so far, just in the few days that I've been doing this, I've seen him as creator. He's merciful, holy, he's a friend, he's sovereign, he's in control, his steadfast love, he's a God of hope, he disciplines, he blesses, he restores, he's patient, he's a God who sees, he's a God who hears, he's listening, he provides, he forgives. And I'm going to be using purple to mark these characteristics in my Bible. And I'm going to try to just use purple for that, so that when I see purple, I'm reminded, oh, that's a characteristic of God. And then I've been looking for examples of the word of the year. So I've really been seeing trust pop up a lot, which I know you all have too from your posts that you've been putting on Facebook. And when you find examples of your word, I hope you mark it. Mine is cultivate. I'm probably not going to find the word cultivate in a lot of my studies, but I will find examples of cultivate and the different ways that I want that to be a part of my spiritual growth throughout 2024. And so you may pick a special color for that, or you may just put a box around your word. And then if there's, if it's not explicit, you might write a note about it. why that is reminding you of your word. And so I'm not only looking for examples of my words, but I've also been looking for yours. And so you may want to do that as well. Even if your word isn't trust, I think we're all keenly aware of that word as we're running across it day to day. I have been seeing the word covenant come up quite a bit, and I've been studying about covenants. This is going to be a whole lesson probably next week, so I'm not going to go into a great detail about a covenant, but it's a promise, an agreement, or contract between two parties. It can be a covenant between God and a person, or it could be a covenant between two people. And so God gives us examples of covenants. And then, we are in covenant as well. And as we learn about the covenants between God and men, yeah, I'm learning a lot myself about what that means personally. And so I'm marking examples of covenants, and I'm going to be looking for that all year as I'm reading through the entire Bible. I'm going to be looking for examples of altars. I'm very interested. I'm reading that altars were built as a place to worship and give sacrifices, but they were also a reminder of a special place. And so I'm going to be looking for examples of altars and learning more about that as well. I'm going to be looking for examples of God's mercy. So, mercy appears in the Bible as it relates to forgiveness or withholding punishment. For example, God the Father showed mercy on us when he sacrificed his son Jesus on the cross to pay the price of our sins. So I saw mercy today as I was reading about Abraham. God provided the ram in the bushes. And so, you know, um, he was merciful to Abraham and Isaac. So that's something I'm also going to be looking for. And mercy, covenant, this is all going to be tied into next week's lesson that I'm really excited about and have been doing a lot of research for. So now I've thought about how to, how can we put this into our journal as a way to enhance this lesson. But I'm going to show you in my journal and in my Bible a couple ways of creating a journaling window. And I think when you're looking for specific things, for example, covenants or altars, and you're learning a lot about something, this is a good way to create more space while highlighting a specific text. And so you create a little window by cutting a hole in a piece of paper and then creating one of those tip ends that we talked about last week. And these are a couple that have been, embellished a little bit. The one up here in the corner and the one down here to the left. But these two pictures, and in the middle and at the right, at the bottom, those came straight from the video that I have linked here in blue. If you click on that blue link, that is the video that Faith created that shows how she creates these windows in her Bible. And it highlights a specific text. You can zero in. You can see here how she's cut just a little square out of a piece of construction paper or scrapbooking paper. And then when she folds it over, you just see that text. And then she can write all about what she's learned from that or what that means to her. So I'm going to show you how I'm doing that. Mine's very simple, but you can make it much more elaborate. The only thing is, when it's your Bible and you're wanting to save space, keeping it thin and not quite as embellished is probably a good idea. So let me share. This is my journal, and I Xerox copied the page from my Bible about covenant. It's Genesis 17. And this whole little section is a great example, I thought, of covenant because it's talking about God's responsibility of what he's going to do and Abraham's responsibility that he's going to have to do. And so God's telling him he's going to multiply him greatly, even though he doesn't have, a son by Sarah. He is going to make him the father of a multitude of nations, your offspring. He's just talking about your offspring, and they're going to be an everlasting possession. These are signs of the covenant. But then Abraham, his responsibility is to teach his family, to teach his servants. And the sign that they are following God is that they are going to be circumcised. And so this whole section talks about that. And so I created this box that, highlights that whole section. And this may not be the best um, technique for such a large passage. It's probably better for something small because then you have a lot more space to journal. But my idea is to, put a heading up here that this is the covenant between God and Abraham. I'm going to write the definition of a covenant, and then I'm going to write down some things that I've learned. Then on the other side, you've got a lot more space that you can write. One thing I did do wrong that, when I do this, I learn sometimes what not to do. And I glued the tip in on this page. And so now it really lays on this page better than it does over here. It's pulling. So if possible, when you're creating one of these windows, glue it to the page that you're trying to highlight. And so then I created one. This one I just cut out of a piece of scrapbooking paper. But in my Bible, I created one out of an envelope. And so the one that Faith will show you if you watch her video, she actually takes a piece of acetone, just like this is a sleeve from something that I bought that came with this little plastic sleeve, probably stickers, I would guess, that was around it. And so you can create your own little cellophane window using that if you want. But I just used an envelope. I held it up to the light and traced around where I could see the outline, and I cut it off the other side so that now I have this little window. And I used my sewing machine to sew. I cut it off because it was way too long. I wanted it to stick up some, but not too much. And the area that I sewed created a little pocket. And so I made a tag that can be written on and kept in here. And I can write notes on all of this on both sides. So when I glue this in, I'm going to be careful to put a little drizzle of glue on this side and then glue it to the side that I want to highlight. And I mainly wanted to highlight this section here because the first part is talking about Hagar and how she had fled, and she sees God as El Roi, the God who sees. And so, if that was covered, that was okay. I wanted this to show up. So that's 2 ways that you can create a tip in with a window. And if you go to the How to Faith a Life, that video that I linked also shows you how she did it with just a little small window.